What's up, page turners? Welcome to Writers with Purpose. I'm your host, Melvise from Written Words Publishing. At Written Words Publishing, we envision a world where every storyteller, regardless of their background, has the opportunity to share their voice, shape narratives, and impact the world through the written word. So, if you value powerful storytelling, and I know you do, page turners, because you are here, do me a favor, like this video, follow this channel, subscribe to this channel, share this video. We got a great guest here today, and you know there's somebody out there that needs to hear what our guest has to say today, okay? Because tonight we are going to dive into the purpose of the book titled Not Alone: Transforming Trauma and Accompanying Survivors. This story is both a testimony and a toolkit. Ann Richardson shares real stories of healing grounded in faith and equips readers with practical ways to walk through trauma and to support others with wisdom and care. It's a powerful reminder that healing is possible and no one has to face it alone, okay? No matter what you are going through, there is somebody else out there who has already been through it. And you know what else? They survived, all right? So let's welcome Ann Richardson to the show today. How are you doing today, Ann?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Melvise.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us here today. Tell us something, tell our page turners something about yourself.
Well, um, I'm an author and a spiritual director, and I am also a survivor of childhood molestation.
Hmm. Okay, okay. So was that your purpose for writing Not Alone? Well,
Yes,
what is your
what
purpose for
happened?
writing Not Alone? I'm sorry, go ahead.
It was to share my healing journey with others. I had a midlife crisis, and that I was kind of stuck in shame, and that kind of drove me into therapy. And also, I felt God nudging me where He wanted me to come away with Him to the desert. And that's not a physical desert, but a place of silence and solitude and spending time with Him. And I just, I'm just so grateful that God has brought me to this place of freedom and to see myself as God sees me, and to be confident in my purpose. And so that's what drove me to write the book, because I want to share this with others that they can have hope too and know they're not alone.
That's right. That's right. You are not alone. So for someone who's watching this right now who does feel like they are completely alone, what do you say to those people? What do you think it really means to be? What makes somebody feel like they're alone? And what can you tell them to reassure them? No, you're not.
Well, when there's been trauma, especially like sexual trauma, it creates shame, and it a lot of survivors keep it a secret, and they internalize it was their fault, and it definitely was not. And so I think feeling like if they know that they're not the only one, it kind of helps slowly open up to share their story, which is one of the initial steps in the healing process, is to share your story.
So who should they seek to share their story with?
Well, would suggest to someone who's not shared their story, consider writing it and reading it out loud with God alone. And I've had some women say, well, I don't want anyone to see it. And I said, well, you can hide it. And then after you, because there's something powerful that happens when we just voice it and share our story and get it out there. And then I would say, find a safe person that you trust to share it with. Some people might have a mentor or maybe someone at the church, or maybe a family member they trust. Some might want to seek out a safe therapist or someone
Mhm.
else. But then I would say that I would share it with someone, and then I would say get support, find safe support, because this is a journey that needs to be done with others. And then when women, I work mostly with women, but when they hear others share how it's affecting them and how it's manifested in their life, then it's like, oh, I'm not the only one. I'm not alone.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. That's
Mhm.
true. Well, I know that you said that, you had to lean on God and you had to trust in God in order to get through your trauma. But what would you say to someone who's struggling to trust God after they've dealt with a trauma? Somebody who maybe already had trust in God and then they had an experience where they were assaulted and now they feel like God wasn't there for them. What would you say to somebody who's feeling like that right now?
I'd say I hear you. I hear you. I get it. I felt the same way. It's like, God, you're supposed to be this loving God. Why did you let this happen to me? Or why didn't you stop it? Um, why is there suffering and trauma? Um, what I usually say to people now is that I say this all the time: God does not cause trauma, people do.
Mhm.
I've come to that place. Um, I think initially there was hesitation, but I wanted the healing and I wanted that deeper relationship with God. And so I just took small steps, spend a little time with Him, start opening up my heart. I didn't feel judged or shamed. And then the trust slowly started to build, and then I would share more. Also, it was very helpful to look at the life of Christ in the Bible. There's many stories in the Gospels of how Jesus was so compassionate with these women. The woman caught in adultery, the bleeding woman. There's so many, and I noticed that he never shamed them, and he might have called them out on their behavior, but not shaming them. He offered them love and compassion and healing. And so by putting myself in that place too, I could begin to experience his love more. So that's probably what I would say. I know you might just know it in your head. Yeah, God loves me, but if you'll spend the time with him and engage in some of these spiritual practices, you'll be able to know and experience his love in a deeper way. It's going to take time. Mhm.
Yes, yes, because healing is definitely a journey. So what would you say that someone who is on that journey, what would they expect to encounter along the way? What are they going to encounter while they move from getting from being traumatized to complete healing?
Oh, that's, I guess what I would say is, I'll just speak for myself. I had a good therapist, I had a spiritual director, and I had a safe support group. So those things were crucial. So in therapy, I was learning a lot about the childhood, the wounds, how it affected me, and it was very insightful. But with my spiritual director, I learned various practices that helped me kind of slow down and be still, and what I call more contemplative, listening, being slow, um, trying to experience God's love more in my heart, not just know more about God, if that makes sense. So
Mhm.
I would say it it just takes time. It takes time to do all with all those that situation, the um, spiritual director or spiritual mentor, and the therapist, and then the support group. Just give it some time. Mhm.
Yes, yes, you definitely have to give it time and then
Mhm.
just make sure that you don't place any blame
Right.
on
Mhm.
yourself. and just
Right. And
lean.
practice self-compassion along the way. Make sure that you have the encouragement that you need. And I know it's rough. It's really rough, but it's like I I try to explain it. Like if you break your shoulder, you can go to the doctor and learn all about the doctor's credentials, and you can learn about the shoulder. But if you spend daily time with the physical therapist, you will heal, and spend
Mm,
the time. And he loves you more than you know. And it's okay to take a break and then get back into it, because I can honestly say I know deep within I'm beloved. I don't have that shameful feeling over me like I used to. I'm more grounded as the beloved and just confident to live out my call. And I just want women to know that they can have this too. It takes a long time, but with God, they can have this too.
that is so true. That is so true. Well, for the person who wants to help, because you mentioned that you do minister to trauma victims, right? So for the person who wants to help someone that they love, but they feel like, they might, it's a touchy topic. They don't want to cause them more trauma. Like, how do you help someone who you love, who is dealing with a traumatic experience like that, and you just don't know what to do to help them? What can that person do?
Well, what I say to them, because I saw that as I went along, as I journeyed with different survivors in Not Alone groups, they told me all the hurtful things that people said to them, including people in the church. And although it's not intentional, people don't know what to say and do, because, like you said, Melvise, it's an uncomfortable topic. So I would say to them, if if the survivor brings it up, the first thing you do is just listen. Listen. Offer offer a compassionate, open presence. Try not to say anything, just listen. When it's appropriate, you can nod your head, you can maintain eye contact. If you're feeling a little uncomfortable, maybe try to ground yourself and say, I'm going to listen, because that's powerful. And then I would say, offer a compassion statement. I'm sorry that happened to you. That must have been painful for you. I can't imagine what you're going through. And then at some point, you want to assure them that it's not their fault. Somehow trauma victims we blame ourselves. We somehow caused this, we somehow deserved it, or this shoulda, coulda, woulda. I shouldn't have gone to the bar with them. I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have done that.
Mm,
So it really stressed that it wasn't their fault. I say this all the time too, abuse has no excuse.
mm,
And then offer encouragement depending on what they share with you. And I want to say this, if they're willing to share their story with you, you are a safe person for them. So some people doubt themselves, like, I can't listen to this. And it's like, well, if they trust you, you can learn how to listen and sit with them. You can.
mm. That
Um,
that that is great. That is great advice. I never even thought about that. If somebody is willing to open up to you about something that hurtful, they must feel like you are a safe space for them. So yeah, don't ruin it.
yeah. And then I always thank them. Thank you for sharing your story with me. And depending on, I usually caution people not right in the beginning to say, well, do you have a therapist? Because then the survivor might feel like, oh, you don't want to hear my story. You just want me to go to therapy. It could be a little. So later, what I will say is, would you share with me what's worked for you in the past? Like, this is a good one for ministry leaders or other other people. What worked for you in the past, and then they can tell you what kind of therapy or help or 12-step or other kind of groups that they've been involved in. And then you could ask, how can I support you? What sometimes, what do you want from me, or what do you need from me? That depends on your position. Family member might be different than a ministry leader, or a small group leader, or somebody like that.
That is so true. That is so true. Well, what is one truth that you want every reader to walk away with after they finish reading Not Alone?
Mm. You are beloved, gifted, and called to a purpose.
Hmm. I love it. You are beloved, gifted, and called to a purpose. Yes, and that is true for all of us. All of us. I love your book cover here. What made you decide to use the running water as the theme on your book cover here?
Well, I love nature, and I do experience God in nature. And I love water. It represents the living water. If you remember Jesus, when he met with the Samaritan woman, who's one of my favorites, um, he offered her living water. And so it's hard to tell, but if you turn the book upside down, it's very gray and desolate.
Mm.
And so when you turn it right side up, it's beautiful. So it's like the transformation process, because shame can make you feel very gray and desolate and lonely and empty. And then to be transformed, it's rich, and there's life, and there's running water and beauty.
I like that. I like that. That's a very interesting concept. Awesome. Well, tell everybody where they can find your book. Where can we go and purchase your book?
It's on Amazon. So if you plug in the title there, or my name, it'll pop up on Amazon.
And your website, AnneMarieRichardson.com, what will people find when they visit your website?
Well, they'll find I have quite a bit of information. I talk about Not Alone, the groups, and I've got some videos on there. I've got a video of some women who've been through the group, and they share their stories, and I kind of explain that. So I have a whole section of what for survivors. I'm blogging currently this last month and this month. I've been blogging on tips for survivors, tips for those who accompany, information, and now I'm posting guest bloggers who are survivors of sexual trauma, so you can hear their stories as well. Um, I have several other books on there as well. I have a workbook to go with this, and a couple
Oh,
other
great.
books. Yeah,
What's the title of the workbook?
it's Not Alone, a Christ-centered recovery process for women who've experienced emotional, physical, or sexual trauma. And that
Okay.
too is on Amazon. And on my website, I have links. And then I have information when I run Not Alone groups, or when I offer trainings for those who accompany survivors as well.
Okay. All right. That would be great. But you know what I was just thinking about when you mentioned that you have a blog on your website. You may want, and this is for all you authors out there, check out substack.com. So Substack is really popular right now. There are a lot of authors doing their blogs over on Substack. You can do subscriptions on Substack, if I'm not mistaken, but you can just have a blog. I believe you can actually also use Substack to do a mailing, to send out a mailing list. So yeah, if you have a blog on your website and you're looking to you know attract more, more of your target audience, try Substack. Yes, substack.com. That is a great resource for authors, and a great place to post your blog, and expose you to more people, more than somebody just coming to your site. It's like another social media site, but for bloggers, for lack of a better way to say it. So that might be a good resource for you to check out. Yes, yes. Well, is there anything else that you would like to tell our page turners before we leave today?
I just think those that are drawn to my book are either a survivor or somebody who's going to accompany and wants to be more trauma informed. And I just want to say, I want to stress to the survivor, you can be empowered and you can take your life back. And again, to those who accompany, you can be that safe support person for them.
Yes, you can take your life back. And Irvin was watching, and he put in the comments, experience God for yourself. Yes, you definitely have to experience God for yourself and lean on the Lord. Lean on the Lord. Just like it says in the scripture. Lean on the Lord. All right, all right. Well, thank you, Ann. Thank you so much for being a guest here on Writers with Purpose. So, page turners, I would encourage you to share this video, share this podcast with anyone who you know has been through some type of trauma, whether it be sexual, because Ann, I imagine that the trauma, you're more focused on the sexual trauma, but trauma is trauma, right? So if you can use the methods in your book to get through whatever type of trauma someone may be going through, right?
Yes, yes. When I wrote the workbook, I incorporated both emotional and physical because you're right. Trauma creates this similar manifestations regardless of what happened. And so, yes, there's hope for all kinds of trauma.
There you go. There you go, page turners. Share this video and let's help heal someone from their trauma today. Thank y'all so much for watching. And we are going to see you all on the next episode. I'm sorry, I promise I wasn't going to call y'all no more. We will see the page turners on the next episode of Writer with Purpose. Y'all have a great evening. Bye bye, everybody.